Rather lads, welcome back to Kossi's Arsenal podcast. My name is Kossi. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. Here are my 6 things we learned from Arsenal 3, Brentford 0 at the GTEC Stadium. Another masterclass performance, another perfect game. So what did we learn? In the comment section, let me know. Was it a nice kickabout with the boys? Just like Ivan Toney said when they beat us 2-0 last campaign. Of course, that was so hurting. Mikel Arteta used that tweet to motivate his players last campaign. And he told them, this is unacceptable. We cannot be getting tweets like this from opposition players, that it was a nice kickabout with the boys. So hit the like button for me. Let's get this video to 300 likes. And of course, subscribe to the podcast as well if you're new. Now, what we learned, number one, it was a nice kickabout with the boys, guys. That was always going to be my number one point. Listen, Brentford, in the first game last campaign, they didn't even play well against Arsenal. Of course, if you put context to the situation, where we were last campaign and where we are now, it's a very, very different team. It's a very different, we are in a very different position. But Ivan Toney coming out and saying it was a nice kickabout with the boys, literally it shows that Arsenal offered nothing on that day. It was so disrespectful. It was so disgusting. And look, I just love the way that the fact that Gabriel Magalhaes, after that game, he went to Twitter. He went to his official Twitter handle and he said it was a nice kickabout with the boys yesterday. Because one, that is a kickabout. Brentford offered nothing in that game. If Ivan Toney wants to know what a kickabout is, that is a kickabout. That was a training game. That was an Arsenal, senior team playing Arsenal under 17s, Arsenal under 15s. There was nothing. We even brought on a 15-year-old, to play in that game. That shows you that the game had lost meaning. There was no contest there. Thomas Frank was talking about how Arsenal have a lot of quality, and how some of our players are going to be world class. We don't care. We absolutely don't care. That Brentford side won 4-0 against Manchester United. The fact that we froze them, the fact that we absolutely demolished them is pure quality. Pure sin. So for me, guys, Ivan Toney learned a lesson yesterday. That was sweet revenge. That was very good vengeance. That is a nice kickabout. That is, I think he has understood the difference between winning a game with fine margins and a kickabout. A kickabout, there is no opposition. There is no opposition in the pitch because they had one shot on target in the first half. They had one shot on target in the second half. 2 shots on target. They were looking for more than 3 goals to win that game. Yet they had only 2 shots on target. So that is a kickabout. Ivan Toney, I hope my message reaches you, bro. That is what we call a kickabout. A kickabout is not when you beat Arsenal while 2-0 in the dying minutes of the game. A kickabout is what happened yesterday. We put the game to bed 50 minutes in. We had 40 minutes to score 5. We had 40 minutes to score 6. I think Mikel just told the boys, look, if you get this game out of the way, chill. We have so many other games to think about. Anyway, guys, that was a nice kickabout yesterday. My point to lads there is the resilience in that game was absolutely magnificent. I can't believe it. I still cannot believe that when we played Brentford, we acted as if when we had not lost a previous game against Manchester United. That was so mad. That was absolutely mad. Now, listen. I was watching Mark Goldbridge, and he makes 2 very important points. He says, one, if Arsenal want to win the title, they need to stop drawing games, many games. And to be honest, last campaign, we only drew 3 games. The other thing we need to do is to bounce back. We need to learn to bounce back when we lose a game. You remember one of the reasons why we didn't qualify for the top 4 last campaign or Champions League. We lost 3 games in a row against shit clubs: Crystal Palace, Brighton, and was it Newcastle? No, Southampton. 3 games in a row: Crystal Palace, Southampton, and then Brighton. I still cannot believe we lost those games. We were on a very good run. I think we lost against, I don't remember. We lost against Liverpool. Then we bounced back with a win, right? And then we lost 3 in a row. That is where our top 4 hopes were put in jeopardy. That is where our Champions League dreams were actually demolished. So there's resilience is a very important factor in a team. It is mentality, it is attitude, it is psychology. And the psychology around the team must be, whether we win or lose, we must win the next game. We've seen it with Manchester City. They lose a first half and they win a second half and they walk away with 3 points. You need to be that resilient. And to get to that level of resilience, of winning games 2-0 down, 3-0 down, and grabbing a point, you need to start by winning the next game after you've lost a game. And that resilience that we saw yesterday was absolutely top class. When we were playing, there was no indication that this Arsenal side is timid. There was no indication that this Arsenal side is afraid. We were absolutely class. We were absolutely fire. And if we continue being like this, I don't want Arsenal to lose so many games this campaign. It will eventually come back to bite us. But if we can do that, you lose against Liverpool, you win your next 3, 4, 5 games, right? Then you can lose against Manchester City, then you win your next 6 games. I think that will put us in the title conversation. Right now, yes, I've seen Thomas Frank at Brentford. We'll talk about his comments. I've seen a couple of other people saying Arsenal in the title race. It is only because they are afraid of how we play. I don't think we are in the title race, really, but the resilience and how we are responding and how our team is really doing well, it is just so pleasing. I'm so happy that when we went at the GTEC Stadium, it was a different game. It was a beautiful game. It was a perfect game. So the resilience, the bouncing back to winning ways deserves a mention. And as I record this video, Arsenal are on top of the table, 18 points, 1 point above Manchester City and Chelsea. So if you don't have that resilience, with Manchester City and Spurs chasing you with all that quality, because there was a lot of pressure. Manchester City had beaten Wolverhampton Wanderers, I think it was 3-0. And then Spurs had thumped Leicester City 6. That is enough to put you off track. That is enough to put you off the grid. That's enough to create huge amounts of pressure on you, right? So I just loved it. I just loved, the mentality and the resilience. Number 3, guys, we took our chances finally, and we buried the game before Brentford could respond. This is something I've always been talking about, and I think, look, we've all seen the advantages of putting your chances away and putting games far away from the opponent as much as possible. Look, in the first half, 2 good goals, Brentford were already demoralized. There was nothing they were thinking about, in the second half, apart from, we are going to throw everything we have at this game and try to come back. 54 minutes in, it's a wonder shot by Fabio Vieira, and the game is put to bed. That is the killer, the killer instinct. That is the monster mentality you want from your team. Can you bury games? Can you take your chances? Can you take the full chances and the half chances? As long as you bury the game, no one cares. That goal from William Saliba, on another day, it goes off the bar. On another day, a defender is gonna shake Saliba a little bit, just change the trajectory, his trajectory towards the ball. That header from Gabriel Jesus on another day, Ben Mee is gonna be a little bit more. It's gonna be better. Probably if you're playing Eric Dyer or Christian Romero, better centre backs, you're not going to get that chance. But those are half chances, right? If Gabriel Jesus misses from that range, anyone would say, oh, it's a difficult chance. But we are not speaking about a difficult chance. We are talking about a difficult technique that went into the back of the net. So take your chances always. Yesterday, we created 3 big chances and took 2 of them, right? 3 big chances, took 2 of them, wasted 1. There is a difference. In the Manchester United game, Odegaard should have scored, Saka should have scored, Gabriel Jesus should have scored, Martinelli should have scored. We had around 4 big chances and took one of them. So 3 big chances went begging. And that's you can see that the difference in the result. We scored 3 against Brentford. We scored 1 against Manchester United. When you put games to bed, when you bury games, it just allows you that easy period where you're just gonna control events in the game. You're comfortable even when you lose the clean sheet. I didn't talk about the clean sheet here, but even if we had lost the clean sheet, it wouldn't mean Brentford are back in the game, because you literally freeze the opponent. They're 3 goals down, and they're not seeing the ball. They're not having the ball, to create chances, because Arsenal are always on the ball. We had 64% ball possession. That is already killing off the opponent. And again, 3 more goals. That is already killing off the opponent. So 3 goals, 3 points with a wonderful performance. That is good. Take your chances. I mean, just do that every 90 minutes and you're going to win the title. Number 4, Arteta tactically froze Thomas Frank. Now, I love Thomas Frank and the way he reacts to Arsenal, Odegaard, Fabio Vieira, and William Saliba. But let's talk about the tactics in this game. He played a 3-5-2. And what do we know about teams that play a 3-5-2? Antonio Conte, Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter. 1, they love to have, they love to create overloads in midfield. So that is what he wanted to do. So you could see Josh Da Silva dropping into the midfield to help the likes of Matthias Jansen, the likes of Janet and Potas Jansen. They wanted to create overloads in midfield. Now, I thought that would work against a team like Arsenal, honestly. That was a wise decision. I just don't understand how it didn't work. Honestly, look, I'm not a very big technician, right? I just didn't understand how that didn't work. Because when I think about it again, he's playing 5 in midfield. He's playing 3 at the back and 2 up front. And of course, Ivan Toney is always going to drop into that midfield to make it 6. Arsenal only played with a midfield of 3. Martinelli and Saka, of course, dropping back as well, and Tierney and Ben White coming up front, right, to help us mitigate the situation. I just didn't understand how Thomas Frank was so beaten, because his tactics on the day matched the occasion. But what I saw with Mikel Arteta in this game, and we'll also explore this in my next point, he froze Thomas Frank. We froze Brentford. And literally, what we did is we gave them a few minutes on the ball, but we didn't allow them do anything with those few minutes on the ball. 36% ball possession. They didn't create any big chances in that game. How many passes into the final third? How many key passes did they have? 1 key pass in the final third. So that shows you that Arsenal literally controlled the events on the pitch, whether Brentford had the ball or Brentford didn't have the ball. And one thing I loved about Arsenal is the work rate, right? Because it's not about creating overloads. We've seen it with Thomas Tuchel. He plays with a 3-5-2. Many in midfield, Jorginho, Kovacic, and Conte, or Jorginho, Kovacic, Mount, and Kai Havertz. It's all about how hard your players work, the work rate they put in, and how effective they are. Now, Arsenal yesterday worked hard and worked effectively. That is why when we were knocking the ball around, right, you could easily detect that Brentford, instead of coming to win the ball back, they kept in shape. They're trying to keep in shape to make sure that Arsenal do not easily run through them. And when we went into the final third, that is what I didn't understand still, because I thought Brentford wanted to close us down in the final third and catch us on the break. But they even didn't manage to do that. So either Brentford had a very, very bad game, or Arteta tactically froze Thomas Frank. But tactically yesterday, there was only one tactician. That was Mikel Arteta, knocking the ball around, making sure that we win the ball back high up the pitch, and making sure that whenever we were in the dangerous areas, we were effectively creating chances. Number 5, the question: are we too good for this level of opposition now? Now, this question must be explored. I think this is a better question than our Arsenal title contenders, because right now it is kind of too early to say Arsenal are title contenders. It is kind of too early to ask the question. I know why people are asking this question. It is because Liverpool have forsaken their duty of chasing Manchester City. Chelsea have forsaken their duty of chasing Liverpool and Manchester City. And Man United have already announced themselves as non-title contenders this season. So that leaves us with only two quality clubs in the UK. That is Arsenal and Manchester City. So look, they are not wrong to ask whether Arsenal are title contenders, but the better question is, are Arsenal now too good for this level of opposition? Because listen, let me say this. Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, apart from Leicester City, all the other sides that we have played are quality sides, and they have brought, good games against big sides. Crystal Palace, they lost 4-2 to Manchester City. If they had defended better, they could walk away with the point. Honestly, they could walk away with the point. After beating Aston Villa in midweek, Villa nicked a point off Manchester City. And no one speaks about that. And no one speaks about the fact that we beat Villa and then they grab a point against Manchester City. No one speaks about that. So let's talk about Bournemouth now. Because Bournemouth, everyone says Bournemouth is a shit side, is a relegation side, and they conceded 9 against Liverpool. But we know Newcastle is one of the best teams now in the Premier League, top 10 best teams in the Premier League. They found it so difficult to break down Bournemouth. They found it very, very difficult. And yet, when we play this opposition, when we play these clubs, it is too easy. We make it look like so easy. And the opposition fans are always saying, let's wait when they play Brentford. Let's wait when play Crystal Palace. Let's wait when they play this opposition. And when we play these games, okay, the Manchester United game, we failed the test. Let's wait and see against Tottenham and Liverpool. But for me, even if we play Brighton, we will beat them. Even if we play Newcastle, we will beat them. Because it just looks like we're too good now for this quality of opposition. It just looks like we've gone. We are just too good for this quality, with this quality of opposition. Leeds United, we've beaten Brentford. Are you saying now we are waiting for Leeds United? Are we waiting for what? Are we waiting for... stop the excuses. We need to acknowledge the fact that now Arsenal are a better side. We are so much improved from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago. And many people don't want to accept this. And this is how Liverpool won the title. This is how Liverpool won the Champions League. Within, people still saying, oh yeah, Liverpool are coming back, but we don't trust they will win anything. And they've literally won anything there is to win in UK football. And lastly, we missed Martin Odegaard. Yeah, that is the negative I saw in that game. Now, listen, I know many of you will say, because you're not grateful. Be grateful with what you have. You people tell me that all the time, especially when it comes to Granit Xhaka. But we missed Martin Odegaard. The creativity Xhaka provides, because Xhaka was the creative spark in that game. Fabio Vieira, however much he scored a screamer, he's lacking that confidence to come into game, influence games, and be the kind of player that we all know he can be. So Xhaka took on the role for creativity with Saka, with 2 assists, and Martinelli. Imagine if Martin Odegaard was in that game. Imagine if Arsenal had 3 other through balls from an architect like Martin Odegaard. That game was going to end in an embarrassment for Thomas Frank. And I think, right now, like I said yesterday, his team talk must be, let's forget about this game. We've lost to an Arsenal side who didn't have one of their best players, actually 2 of their best players, in Alexander Zinchenko and Martin Odegaard. If they had 2 of them, it would have been a disaster. So those are the 6 things we learned from Arsenal 3, Brentford 0. We take on Spurs next on the 1st, I think, on the 2nd of October. Difficult game. Of course, we have Liverpool coming up. We have a few games in the Europa League to conclude our group stages. I don't think we should be concerned with Europa League. So see you soon. We'll be talking about Mikel Arteta's press conference and our title, our Arsenal title contenders. I should have an Arsenal fan on. We'll be discussing that extensively later today.